So yesterday we had a Zoom meeting and um, a joke came up, a very well-known Irish joke, but I'll put the recording out anyway. But it comes up in relation to what someone said, and what it was that some one of the participants said, I feel I'm starting from the wrong place. That I'm everything is wrong. I've all the wrong ideas about this or whatever. And the joke obviously is that one where the tourists are it's pre smartphones and Google Maps and all of that. So they're looking for say Killarney, and they've got lost and they've gone down some country road and they stop and they ask a man, "We're looking for Killarney," and he goes, "Oh, well, if I were you, I wouldn't start here." So it's a bad joke, but I mean that the sense um, that the individual has is kind of like that. It's kind of like um, I'm starting in the wrong place. I'm looking for something, and there's a definite confirmation that it's not what I'm not already there. So it has been decided completely 100% that there's somewhere to get to. And that somewhere to get to, I can fill in that blank however I want to. It's the time I had that um, explosive experience years ago where everything was one. There was no sense of me, a kundalini, an awakening, or whatever. Or it's when I just make a shit ton of money, and I don't have to do anything. I can do whatever I want. Don't have to work. Don't have to 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 stick it to the man. I can just whatever anyone's idea is of it, but it's not here. It's not what's appearing to happen, and that's really this morning is that illumination of that sense that of being a separate person and uh, there's I'm somehow in the wrong place and there's somewhere that's better than this that I can get to, and then that plays out differently for everybody then, and it's to a greater or lesser degree. Also some people it's not so strong, there's maybe more contentment or whatever, that's fine. But generally, when there's a sense of being a separate person, a separate individual, there is a really lived sense that there's somewhere to get to, and it's not this. Um, and so I need a roadmap to it. So the best way to get a roadmap to it is to speak to people who are there or have been there, and then they'll give me my ABC. This leads to that, and then I'll get there. And there's a that is very much that really is characteristic of the sense of being a person, is that sense of moving. It really feels very comfortable moving towards something, and generally the more complex the better, the more difficult to get to the better. Or else you can get there, but it's obviously temporal and fleeting, and there's a better place to get to again. So in general, it's a rejection of whatever appears to be happening in favor of what might happen. And this is the suggestion from nobody, just from nothing, a suggestion that actually there is no there and there is no you to get there. There's just boundless wholeness. There's boundless unconditional love already. And the huge surprise is that it's already the case. So it's appearing to hide, only appearing to hide when you feel like an individual, because there's a rejection of what is in favor of what might be. And all of that is just totally energetic, and it's different for everyone, but it's all energetic. The sense of being separate is an energetic contraction. It's not an idea or a thought. It's a sense, a really lived sense of there being a world out there and a me here that moves through it, relates to other people who are separate, negotiates as best a deal it can for itself. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. That's just what appears to happen. Um, but it's dissatisfying. It's a subject-object reality that's dissatisfying because things aren't actually objects. There are no objects. So seeing them as an object is a half alive thing. It's dissatisfactory. And it's that dissatisfaction, then there's a yearning in that then for what is it that's how actually is life? What is it that I'm looking for? And then the individual, as I just said, feels it's something else. It's something that I can work towards and get towards. Um, and the big joke is that there's just already that. There's just already boundless wholeness. Sitting on a chair, sounds, sensations, a thought, maybe a question, maybe an answer. It's very simple, very ordinary. So we'll see what happens this morning. See what appears to happen. Oh, hi, Richard.
Hey, Ken.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Yeah, so for you, for that being there,
Yeah.
can you watch films anymore? And say like your son comes home from school and tells you a story. I mean, do you go, well, that didn't really happen, there's no one actually
No,
there, and
no, none of that. No, 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 none of that. That would be,
no,
that would be, that to me would be that this is some sort of a belief system or a concept or a religion or that non-duality is actually a thing. There's no such thing as non-duality. So like any of that, and then that would be very much I believe this, so you need to know what I believe. So you're telling me stories now, and they're only stories. Da, 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 da. That's very agenda-led belief. That's how that would feel to me.
yeah,
There's no agenda here for anyone. Absolutely no agenda for anyone to believe anything, to any of that. So,
yeah,
parent fathering appears to happen. It's that simple. Fathering appears to happen. The
yeah,
difference, the difference is then is if you feel like an individual, then fathering is everything is different when you feel you're doing it. So there's the addition of me. So I'm being a father. So I'm actually being the parent. It's me that's doing all of this, and that's my child. You know, and energetically, that's it's not better or worse or anything, but energetically, that's a different as it is for everything. Like if you pick a job or you have a job, but you feel you're doing the job, then that addition to you makes things, it complicates it. Um, and when that sense of being an individual, say, isn't there anymore, it just continues. It just continues as it did, but energetically it's different also. It wouldn't know like a lot of the neurosis and everything just falls away out of it, and it certainly wouldn't feel like it's impossible to describe the difference between fathering and you thinking you're a father. It's impossible. But I mean, it's just fathering happens. That's all. Like, and that's all that happens with, say, a person who thinks that they are being a father. It's just fathering, but then they're adding themselves to it.
and what about like watching a movie? Can you still watch a movie, or does it all seem like a load of nonsense?
Oh, all of the interests that would have been there before, not all of them actually, sorry. Some of them would be kind of tied to the story of you and would just drop away. But most of the interests are often just still there. So if you
Mm.
enjoyed movies before and you didn't, and then you feel that sense of being enjoying movies would probably still appear. Probably, I don't know, but
Mm.
yeah. So I mean, it's the same, and it's indescribably different. But most of the people, what they like are it just continues.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
One thing that did change for I was very passionate about music. Maybe this will kind of illustrate it a bit more. And the passion for music is still there, but it changed somewhat. That I used to go to gigs like every week, probably every week. I'd say I'd go to gigs, and going to gigs was a big thing for me. And I get really upset if I miss somebody I really liked, and then I disappeared to happen, and all of that just fell away. It didn't matter. Like I either I was at a gig or I wasn't, and
Hmm.
that sense of having missed something just collapsed completely. The passion for music was still there, but that element of it just totally collapsed. So like people will have a different story. Everyone will have a different story. If there's a kind of trying to talk about not feeling separate anymore, and there might be some commonalities, but like it's not what you think it is, and it can't be. It's very simple. Like there's nobody there sitting on the chair at the desk. Nobody. You didn't ask a question. Just asking a question just appeared to happen. But there may be, from what you're saying, then there may be a sense that there is an individual there. Trying to like of course it's part of this that you just ask a question. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Just a question and an answer. But it very much is about a resonance, energetic. It's totally energetic. It's not about understanding or knowing or.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Kenneth, it's Ben.
Oh yeah, hi Ben. How you doing?
Not too bad now.
Good.
Nice, nice sunny morning over here.
Yeah, it's okay here too. It's still a bit chilly, but it's a bit better, isn't it, than it has been?
Yeah, I have a question around. I don't know what you'd call it, agency or something.
Hmm.
I know I have what I call kind of they're kind of trolley wheel, but shopping trolleys where you try and push it and the wheel just keeps going in a different direction, and you kind of go, "Oh Jesus, what's wrong with this trolley?"
Yeah.
And I have behaviors like that. I'm sure everybody does, but where does agency fit into this? Where you just go, well, this is what appears to be happening, versus no, I really need to, something needs to try and pull in a different direction. Does that make any
Yeah, but
sense?
pulling in a different direction would just be energetic then. There'd be a sense that like that sense of that pulling in that direction is kind of it is just what's appearing to happen. But also what would just be appeared to happen is okay, that's gone a little bit out of there, so we'll go this way. But there's nobody doing it. Do you see?
Well, no.
So
Um,
pulling the difference would be what I would see as the difference is so some behavior that seems to be pulling in this direction. When there's a sense of an individual, an agency, there would be a sense that I need to go. It's gone too much. Now I need to. It's very much that I need to take control and move it this direction. So if you take the eye away from the whole thing, there could be some sort of eating too much sugar, right? So there's too much sugar. You feel shit. Your microbiome is all out of kilter, and then it's like, right, maybe time to forgo the nice tasty sweet little snacks, and then everything feels a little bit better, but there's not any a sense of somebody doing any of that.
okay.
I don't know, that's that kind of clear it up
It
a bit.
helps a little bit, I think, yeah. And it's kind of that, it's possible to kind of turn the ship or change the situation or whatever.
Yeah,
However, there doesn't have to be, a hero or a
yeah.
do-gooder or a person or
It just
whatever.
it's just what it also it's just what appears to happen. That's all. Like the sense that you're there and you're eating too much sugar is part of it makes the problem more difficult or more, the sense that everything is more complicated when it's up to you. And then often when you sense that there's something like that, then there's this whole kind of beating yourself up about it and
Mm.
berating yourself, and then that just tends to go round and round as well and makes things more complicated. Yeah. So it's all
And
like it's all of that then is part of the rah 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 of the me, whereas like it could just be when there's no sense of that separation anymore. There's just what's appearing to happen, and what's appearing to happen could be eating too much sugar.
okay, and the key thing there is when there is no longer a sense. Um, so you could be back to this kind of quietist type of thing to say, look, there's no point in doing anything. It is what it is.
Oh well,
And how
that
does
you see,
anything get
that's
done then?
that's that's back to you see, you're still back in the first one though. So there's no point in doing anything. It's still from the perspective of somebody who feels they're doing something. So what I just outlined there, there's no individual in the whole thing. There's just eating too much sugar in a sense, right? That's a bit out of kilter, and then not eating too much sugar. No sense of anyone who was doing that or stopped doing that or anything. And then what you're saying is there's no point in doing anything is very much that there's an individual who's doing something or not doing something. This is
Okay.
the suggestion, the illumination. There is no individual to do or not do, and there's absolutely no point to anything at all, ever. There never has been. There's only a point to something when there's meaning in it, and there's only meaning in it when you're there. So,
Yeah.
and so that's direct. That's absolutely the individual to say, oh, there's no point to anything then. Poor me. Everything is meaningless. And
Mm.
then actually, it's so gorgeous because the sense of being separate isn't there. And it's like everything is meaningless. Oh, wow. Everything is nothing. There's no meaning to anything. How gorgeous is that? Like it's so free. It's just so beautiful because everything is just as it appears. Everything is just is and isn't and is indescribable. The immediate indescribable isness of it and isn't and absolutely no meaning required, needed at all. It's so obvious that any meaning is just an overlay by the individual. The meaning
And
maker,
even the when the shopping trolley does its thing and it's like, oh jeez, done this again. That's just what appears to be
it's just
happening, is
what
that?
appears to be happening. There's no meaning
Okay.
at all. Like that's the individual who would put meaning on that. Oh, you're eating too much sugar again. Oh, you've no self discipline. You've no will. You're such a weak person. You've such a sweet tooth. Do you not understand what you're doing to your microbiome?
Mm.
Bringing on dementia. Do you know what I mean? And there's all this rah rah rah, and then it's just it's everything is more complicated with the person. Everything is with the individual. It's just all about that sense of feeding on the sugar. Like the sugar is the meaning of for me to be me, the story of me. It's just constant this loop of me, and that's what the meaning is about really. The meaning is just holding the glue. Is the glue kind of holding everything that model together? That's why you put a different meaning on things than I do, and different. Everyone has a different. But then when they have larger kind of what seem like societal paradigms and senses of importance in culture and all of that, but it's all just part of the story. It doesn't. It's not right or wrong or anything. It's just part of the sense of being separate. And then this is what's being suggested this morning, is that actually there is no separate you. Therefore, there's no separate anyone else, and actually, there's nothing even happening. This is something appearing to happen, and it's beautifully meaningless. Of course, it's just whatever it appears to be. It's totally unknowable,
Mhm.
and beyond understanding.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
yeah, thank you. Try going to Aldi, Ben. They've better trolleys.
Have they cost more?
And full disclosure, I am sponsored by Aldi, so just get it out there. Be honest. Non-duality by Aldi. It's not the person's idea, the individual's idea of what's being suggested kind of is that all of those wobbles on the trolley will just be instantly resolved when there's no longer a me. Like, it's this sense of this carrot of when that me disappears, that shitty feeling that I get, that really bad one that comes on me like once a month or once every 2 months, that's just not going to be there anymore, because I won't be there, because that's all about me. And then my relationships will just flow, like everything will just flow better. Work will be better. Everything will be better when I'm not there, So all that is then is the individual's concept of what's being said, that is just the same really as that whole sense of yearning and searching, in which they imagine something or somewhere that is kind of pain free and stress free, and just all of the nasty, shitty stuff just doesn't really happen. Dualism,
Mhm.
duality, you know. So it's just you can't, nobody can describe what it's like when that sense of me falls away, and it's impossible to talk about it without it sounding like a carrot. It's completely impossible. It's impossible for anyone to speak about it without it sounding like what I just said there. That somehow, and the amazing thing is just it just continue. It appears to continue, like, So there's still discomfort, or there's still pain. There's still different, things, wobbles that appear. But the incredible thing is they're not happening to anyone, and they're all just energetic. It's all just energy. So everything is energy. So a shitty feeling in it before, when it's my shitty feeling, is a big, big problem, because I need to understand it. I need to work on it. I need to do something. I need to trace it back to maybe pin it on my mum or my dad or my some childhood trauma or so, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But
Mm.
then when it's the freedom is then that it's what's appearing to happen. It's what's appearing to happen, and that the gone is that sense that I have a shitty feeling. There's just maybe a shitty feeling happens, and it's not even like temporal. It's not even in time that it's there and it lasts a while and it goes again. Really, because this is eternal and infinite. So
Mm.
shitty feeling is eternal and infinite, boundless, unconditional love that appears to last uh, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or a day. In the story, you could say there was a shitty feeling today, and you could maybe weave a story about how long it lasted, but it's just a story because actually it's just it is and it isn't, because everything is nothing and nothing is everything. It's infinitely more simple than anyone could imagine.
It's it's hard to let, and I suppose it's not even hard to let in. I remember one of the sessions I was at, one of your sessions, and I think a phrase had been used a couple of times, but one time it was felt like 100 times more intimate than a punch in the stomach. Like it was just,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
and and I said, I've never heard that before, and you said something like, well, that's right, because I've never said that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though audibly it had been said several times, it had
Oh
never been heard.
no, 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 of course not. Like, we've never spoken before.
Hmm, that's
Isn't
mad.
that incredible?
That's mad, Ted. Yeah.
We've never spoken before. In the story, we've spoken before, and we could probably, in the space of 5 minutes, look at our phones, give hard data, as the Americans say. Is it data or data? We could get the dates even, right? Because all we'd have to do is look at when we, in the story, when we met, the meetings, da, da, and we could get it. We could throw a good shape at it, and it's a story. We've never actually spoken before, and there's no you and me speaking now. In
Mm.
the story there is. I'm not. It's not that this is some insanity that like in the story there's a conversation, but what's been illuminated is that sense that it's really a you and a me, and that there's two separate people having a, that's an appearance. That's what's being said, that actually this is all it is energy appearing as two different people having a conversation, and actually it's everything is new. Of course it is, because it's nothing being everything. And but in the story, then when it feels like if it felt like there was an individual here, it would be a really lived sense that I'm hosting a meeting, I'm speaking to you as a participant, we're having an exchange, a conversation, and it, then it gets really complex. Then, like, is it going well? Is it not going well? What does this guy think of me? All of this stuff, and blah blah blah, and actually it's just energy. It's
Extraordinary.
always new. It's always new. It's the newness that can't be. It's the newness that's really yearned for. But the difficulty with for the individual is that that newness is actually the end of you. So the newness means the is your death. Because if it's new, then it's not being filtered through you then. Because if it's going through you, it's it's time and space, and it's real and it's linear and it's causal, you know. And all that can be really done is just illuminating that, because there obviously then is no there really is no you there. So if there is no you there, then there's no you there who can do or not do anything about that. And there's certainly no you there who can see the newness,
Mm.
because seeing the newness is is when there's nothing being everything. Whereas when there's a sense of you, an individual, there's someone who's trying to see the nothing, which turns is something then, and it's just that subject object reality. Yeah. One of my sessions. It sounds like we're in the pub. We, I guess you could call them sessions. It doesn't really matter what you call them, does it? Meeting is a nice kind of neutral word, I think, isn't it?
Mm.
I like meeting. They're just meeting. We're meeting. There's a meeting and a sharing in friendship, in open friendship, and it's they're just stunning. It's gorgeous.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's nothing to do with anybody, and it's just it can't I can't describe. Nobody can describe. I'm totally stunned. As much as when the very first meeting appeared to happen. Um, Stunning, stunning, and nothing at all. For the individual, that's well, which is it? Like, are they stunning or are they nothing at all?
So, Ken, when like you're having thoughts and the me attaches or identifies itself with those thoughts, and it either feels good or bad depending on the
Mm,
thought, in this dualistic
mm.
way. So when the me dies, I mean, like, where does it go? And
Well,
the
okay,
thought
so the me doesn't really die. That's why you'd hear me say apparent an awful lot. As someone pulled me up yesterday, I didn't say apparent, and they were like, "You didn't say apparent." And I said, "Well, I could say apparent. Every single sentence I could say apparent,
yeah,
but I don't. I don't care so much about the language, in the sense that the language is just the words are just used. The words are not used by anybody. It's just language, and there's an expression here that's beyond the words, but apparently falls away. That's a really that's always illuminated, that the individual apparently 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 falls
because it was
away,
never
because
there
the
to
individual's
start
never, you're not there now speaking to me. There's no
with.
you, there's just speaking. There's just speaking. This is so immediate. So that answers actually your question, because your question was, when the me falls away, where does it go? That do you see how it answers your question? It directly addresses your question, actually, because it's all an energetic. It's an energetic sense of being separate, and then it can appear to fall away or melt or whatever word you want to use, and it's very obvious then to nobody there never was an individual, and there's no individual anywhere else. So therefore, there's no individual that really fell away and went somewhere. Like the somewhere to go to, just as the same, it's the same point being made about death. Like this, it's completely understandable. Where do you go when you die? Completely logical, sensible question.
Mm.
But what's been illuminated here is this is a completely different perspective, not for anybody, but it's totally different. And what's been suggested is the whole sense that there is somewhere to go to is from a sense that you are a separate person in time and space. And in time and space, then there's a here and there's a there. So there has to be somewhere to go to. Where do you go? So that's the suggestion, is actually all there is energy appearing as a separate person, appearing as time and space in the story of you. Do you know we can still log on? Kenneth will often be a couple of minutes late, not on purpose, but um, it's a function. It's just in the story. It's a function, but there's no substance to it at all. And it's only in that, like the scientists at the moment are using. It's interesting what a lot of them are talking about. Um, uh, the whole sense of time of time and space is completely and utterly just a story. There's no time and space at all. It's becoming in really mainstream now in the last while, I've noticed. And they talk about it being emergent. It's emergent out of the sense that there's a you and a me, and in that sense of measuring, then there's an emergence. Emerges then a sense of time and space. Um, and when you feel like an individual, it's just a lived reality. It's simple as it's just a lived reality to a greater or lesser degree. Like some people are very much tied to the clock, and others aren't so much. But and some people feel some see that there's no space before they see there's no time. Funny enough, they just see that there's no movement. There's no. It's incredible how people describe it. They describe sometimes. I've heard people describe people going to meetings or and then they're driving after the meeting, and instead of a sense of driving towards something, it's almost like everything is kind of pouring this way. It almost reverses, and they see that actually there's no, it's so obvious there's no space, and then after that they say, oh, there's obviously no time either. But often the way you'd usually hear the other one, you'd usually hear that someone sees there's no time, but it doesn't matter. But so all of that is that sense of aware um, is from that sense of that in that reality of me moving in time. You know, where does the individual go to? There is no individual. There's just the appearance of an individual, and that solidity just collapses. That is in that subject object reality. That solidity of me and other and moving in time and here and there and things really happening. Like things really happening, they have to happen in time and space. In that causality is the same thing. So all of that just collapses. So and it's the same then. Everything is exactly the same, but it's indescribably different. And the way it's different is that it's simply just very, very ordinarily just what's appearing to happen. That's all there is. It's just energy appearing as everything is a story. It's clearly a story. The short answer is this is nothing appearing to happen. Appearing to happen. No falling away of the individual, really. Of course not. It's all a story. There's no individual to fall away. There's just what's appearing to happen. And that is boundless, unconditional love. They're just words also, but whatever. This is everything, and everything is nothing. It's too obvious and ordinary.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hiya,
Hi.
Berend.
I'm for the Berend. Yes, I'm from.
Berend. Hiya, Berend.
I'm from Holland.
Oh, hi. Hi.
I live in Germany.
Ah,
So it's the first time I see you in Zoom.
you're very welcome.
Yes, thank you. What I notice is that I'm continuous, continuously smiling. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I I I don't understand exactly what's going on, but
Mm.
I'm just you're always talking about it's energy, huh?
Yeah,
And
you don't have to understand because it's not understandable.
no,
Actually, that's so gorgeous. Yeah, yeah.
I understand, but
Mm.
I'm s- I'm smiling the whole time, and I cannot declare it, but it's I sense you this energy totally.
Yeah. A causeless smile. Yeah,
Yes,
yes, absolutely. This is what this is, a causeless smile.
yes,
Like the individual feels they need reason to smile sometimes. I know that's a silly thing to say as well. They don't either, but
yeah,
it's causeless joy, you could say.
yeah.
That
This is
includes sadness and sorrow and everything because it is everything and it's totally causeless. Yeah.
yeah.
This-
What I
yeah.
feel is my heart energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a lot of satsangs in the years after until now, and this is for me. This is the same as sitting in a satsang, and the feeling is the same, and I like it very much, and I
Mm-hmm.
love it, and I have the feeling that I'm on the right place here. So
Yeah. There you go.
yes, there you go.
There you go. That's what's happening. That's
So
what's appearing
and
to happen. Yeah.
yes, it appears to happen. It's out of my control. It just happens.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, there is no you there. There's just that's just what's appearing to happen there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Lovely to
much.
hear from you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Must I I myself, this is the first time in Zoom, must I self unmute me or the mute me or the what? What do I do?
Usually people unmute and mute themselves, yeah. Then if they
Okay.
get rowdy, I mute them.
Okay. So I don't know how.
I can, oh, there you go. You figured it out. See? uh, is the oscillation of feeling no individual and the individual is ultimately also a story, or all already nothing appearing to happen. Yes, exactly. Yeah, couldn't have put it better myself. So that it's also just a story. Yeah. So there can be that sense of, oh, there's a sense of things happening to me, and then there's no me, that things are only apparently happening. They're just, yeah, that in and out. That's also just energy and just appearing to happen. What I sometimes say is that when that was apparently happening here, there was this sense then when I apparently was there, that of this yearning for there to not be me, and then it was so obvious that the yearning was just it. The yearning was already it. So when that was just, it's game over really, which makes it sound like something, but it isn't. It's nothing at all. It's like liberation, if you want to call it that, is a complete non-event because there is no liberation. There's just what's appearing to happen. Can anything at all help, or is this all a waste of time? Yeah, this is a total waste of time. It's a waste of time, definitely, if you're an individual, you feel like an individual and you're here to get something. This is an utter, you know, this is totally and utterly pointless. Beautifully, stunningly, gorgeously pointless. It is the most useless communication. If it's a clear, uncompromising communication, it has to be totally and utterly useless. And if it's not, then it's not a clear and uncompromising communication, because if it's of some use to you, and not a waste of your time, then it maybe is in general. It's somehow confirming that you are there and you have time that you can waste or not waste. It's the illumination that there is no separate you, and that time is just an appearance that comes from that sense of there being a separate you.
Hey, Kenneth, it's Ben
Oh, hi,
once
Ben.
more. Yeah, and I answer my own question maybe, but what's just come up um, is that acceptance doesn't mean surrender. It's possible to accept that this is it.
Oh, totally,
Everything there
absolutely.
was, is, and ever will be.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is it.
completely, yeah.
And there still can be rage and wonky trolleys and tears and joy and all that kind of stuff. But that's I'm repeating you now, but that's just what appears to happen. That
Mm,
there's a difference between accepting um, that this is minging terrible
mm.
and and
Oh,
versus accepting this is it.
totally different
Totally
communications.
different.
Yeah, that like there is that communication that just accept what's appearing to happen. Like accept that what's appearing to happen is just energy. Accept that in all sorts of areas. Accept that it's just God's will. Accept this. Accept that. And for some people, that brings us kind of a psychologically or whatever, however they would describe, a sense of relief that they're not struggling, maybe, and that's fine. But that is not this. That's not what's being said here, because nobody's been spoken to. There's nobody being asked to accept anything, and
Yeah.
if that's like that there's nobody being spoken to is really at the heart of this communication, because it's just an illumination. Then I can't see a separate individual, because there is no separate individual. There is no separate individual. So how can I speak to a separate individual who can accept what's appearing to happen?
Mm.
I can only, like, if there's someone being asked to accept what's appearing to happen, then that means I have to be able to see somebody then. Then I'm speaking to somebody then who can then who and if I'm speaking to someone then that's fine because the person that I'm speaking to can then accept or not accept what's appearing to happen. But that's it's completely different.
So it's not accepting this is terrible. It's accepting this is it.
No, but it's not even accepting. It's about the energetic sense feeling of being separate.
Okay.
That's no longer when that's no longer there. There's nobody left to accept what's appearing to happen. There's just nobody there. There's just what's appearing to happen. See, that's the difference. The difference is between somebody who accepts what's appearing to happen and thinks it's only an appearance, and the lived sense that there's just what's appearing to happen. So who would accept it or not accept it? Who would reject it? There's nobody even there to reject it or accept it or do anything with it. It's just that there's just what's appearing to happen. And that's the immediacy of what's being illuminated. That is already all that is. Like that's all. It's already everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. It's so immediately just whatever is appearing that it can't be spoken about, or we can only speak towards it, point towards it, and then then the person thinks it must be so amazing and it can't be spoken of. It's not. It's just so immediately just whatever it is that it can't be known or had or and by the same token then obviously can't be escaped. That's the gorgeous thing. Like what's been yearned for is impossible. You will never get it. You will never get it because it is already all that is, and it's inescapable already. And the sense that you are there, that you will is only it's out of that sense that there's something to get.
As an apparent individual, that concept is utterly terrifying.
Is it? Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I remember you saying that before. Yeah. And the hilarious thing then is there's nobody there anyway.
Mm.
That's the big joke, really. That's the big joke is like there's been terrified of our absence, terrified of death, and the big joke is then when it appears to happen, there's nobody there. There's nobody there. There never
Mm.
has been,
Mm.
you know. So fear then is what's appearing to happen then.
Mm.
So and fear is it, of course, because that's what's appearing to happen.
Kenneth,
Ah, yeah,
hello.
Luciane.
Yes, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right.
Good.
Yeah. What is coming to me is um, it's impossible, isn't it? Because the me always sees everything through this filter of knowing.
Mm. It's
So
yeah, it's
there's
beautifully
always like
impossible.
an assuming about uh, how everything is.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's incredible.
yeah, it's totally and utterly impossible, and just simply then already just inescapable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's impossible to get to where you already are. It's gorgeously futile. This whole searching and yearning is gorgeously beautiful. This is what's been illuminated. If it's just already what's appearing to be, then how can you get there? Because if you trying to get there just reaffirms that it's not this, and there's somewhere to get to, and it reaffirms the sense that there's a you there and there's somewhere to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is beautifully, stunningly, um, outside of understanding and knowing, um, because that's only the individual that knows. No, knowing is nothing. Like, it's so amazing. Like, knowing is just an abstraction. That's all.
Hmm. What do you mean by an
An
abstraction?
abstraction is a sense that of knowing comes from a sense of being separate. So when there's a me that's separate, there's then the ability to abstract or take meaning from what appears to be happening, because there's two then. This is the dualism. There's what's appearing to be happening, and there's me. And in that then is the ability to know and understand and everything. And that's just what the way it appears. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But then that's all that is really, is modeling. You're just modeling. And then the model, really, the big model is the model of who you are. There's an idea of, there's a model of who you are.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I say you're living in your own knowing. Like, there's a loop of knowing the world and knowing yourself. It's all the same. It's all that knowing. I know that I'm sitting on a chair. I know that I'm speaking to you. I know this is a Zoom. I know what time it started. I know what time. I know the day of the week. I know what I'm doing. I know. 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 It's the individuals, the knower. That's
Yeah,
fine. That's
it's like
fine.
I know how you feel. I
That
know
that.
what you're thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
this
know
is
it.
this
And I know
incredible.
this, there's a sense of repetition and staleness to it then, because, oh, it's this feeling again. Oh, I fucking know this feeling. Oh, it's this guy. This guy. Oh, I know this guy. This guy, or this gal, this girl, this lady, I know them. You
Yeah.
don't know anything. You don't know anything. You don't know
Yeah.
anything. You think you know them. You think you know this person. You think you know that person. You think you know this situation. You think you've been here before. You think you're driving down this road before, and it's all a story. And nothing is seen as it actually is. Then nothing is seen as it actually is. It's in a subject object reality where you're looking at a thing, an object, and there are no objects. There are no objects. There are no separate things at all. There's just energy, and energy is completely unknowable immediately. Nothing being everything. It's what it appears to be. Cannot be known, does not need to be known. That's why this whole sharing this morning, there's nothing in this that needs to be held on to at all in any way. Because you can't. If you think you can hold on to it, you've got a concept then. It's
Yeah.
all energetic. This sharing is all energetic. It's very simple. It's the suggestion that there is no you that hears these words. There's just sound. There's just what appears to happen. This will appear to finish now, and it can be just obvious that there was not in the story. There was just a Zoom meeting that's finished. That
Mm.
there's just boundlessness. There's no you that's in there. It can be obvious.
Kenneth, it makes me what you're speaking about sort of makes me think about dementia, people who
Okay.
have dementia.
Mm.
Would you like to make a comment about that?
I don't know enough about dementia really. I've worked with some people, and it depends. There's a huge, um, the difficulty with it is when you speak about dementia, there's so many elements to it, and there can be a huge aggression with it as well. And so I wouldn't say it's like dementia at all. No, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Like, I think the typical thing people think about dementia is, oh, you just forget this. You forget who you are, and you forget the story of me and all of that. And if you were to equate that with what's being suggested here, that wouldn't be it. That would just be a concept, you know.
Mm.
Um, and you know, there's the parts of the brain involved in dementia, maybe that run the story of me. Maybe there's elements of that that kind of illuminate that there's the story of me is kind of uh, being kind of run out of this parts of the brain are involved in it. It's about as close as you could come, but it's not like anything really,
Mm.
you know. Uh, a good metaphor is, it's like, trying to get a good metaphor. It's like you see what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
it's you can't, if you think that that's just a story, then you know it's like this or it's like that. Or
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, and that's
Thanks.
that. Like, and the few times I did work with people with dementia, man, it gets pretty grim.
Mm.
It gets pretty grim. It can do. It can get absolutely fucking horrendous. Like, so
Mm.
it's, for me, that's just a medical thing that appears to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really is not described. Like, nobody, you know, you're never going to click on a YouTube video of someone who is going to be able to tell you what it's like to not be an individual. It will never ever happen. Nobody can describe to you what it's like to not be an individual, because it's impossible. It's so ordinary. It's completely beyond anything you imagine it to be as an individual. It cannot be it. It's immediately, there's just then, it's not special. It's absolutely not special. That's one of the amazing things as well. People think someone who's communicating, there must be in some non-dual state, or it's somehow special, or it's somehow they have something. Another thing that happens is they have something I don't have, maybe. Um, Logically, that would arise, and then it can just, all of that can just collapse, and it's seen that it's the opposite, actually. The individual has something that I don't have, because they have the sense of being an individual. Being an individual is an additional thing, this overlay of this me that seems to fit, everything filters through it. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really lovely. I do apologize for my I have nothing to apologize for. Why am I saying sorry?